Hola clase, bienvenidos a mi lección sobre pronombres y las conjugaciones. Welcome to a little short video from me about pronouns and conjugating. I know you have videos, grammar tutorials with your ebook, but I had a few questions and I thought this might be the quickest way to clear things up. So pronouns, that's one of the first grammatical things that you've talked about in your book. One of the reasons that it's so important is because pronouns basically are words that replace people's names. Rather than talking about myself as in Professora Smith lives in Indianapolis, Professora Smith teaches Spanish, I say, I live in Indianapolis, I teach Spanish in English, right? If I want to talk about my husband, Justin is a CPA, Justin works in Greenfield, Justin is my husband, I replace his name with he, right? So we do the same thing in Spanish, and so let's make sure we know those pronouns to get started. I is yo. There's two words for you. The more familiar way that you use with friends, people that you know on a first-name basis, is tú. And the formal way that you use to show respect to someone is usted. If you want to talk about he is my husband, Justin is my husband, that's él. And she is my mother, she is my friend, is ella. When we talk about myself and others, that's we, nosotros. And there's two ways to talk about you in the plural as well. This one is only used in España, in Spain, vosotros. And the other one is used more commonly in the rest of Latin America, ustedes. Now I know I'm just writing usted, ustedes. Those are abbreviations that you'll need to learn. Whenever you see that, it's pronounced usted, ustedes. And they can be ellos or ellas. Now the reason this is introduced to you right before learning to conjugate your first verb, ser, is because without pronouns, it would be really hard for us to be able to conjugate verbs. Basically, a conjugation of a verb is the different forms that it takes depending on who is doing the action. Now there's tons of people that could be doing the action. It could be my sister, it could be my cousin, it could be Elena, it could be Scott, it could be Joe. And if we had to have different conjugations for all of those people, well, we'd never be able to understand each other because every single person would have to have a different conjugation. No. Basically, we need to know, are we talking about another person, like Joe, él? We could just replace his name with él, and then we would use that form of the verb, the él form, okay? Or if it's Sheila, ella, and then that form of the verb that goes with ella. If I'm talking about myself doing an action, that would be the yo form. If I'm saying that you are doing an action, if I'm just talking to one of you, I would either use the tú form or the usted form. If I'm talking about that we all, everyone in class, we are doing an action, that would be the nosotros form. And if I want to just say all of you students are doing the action, I could use the vosotros form or the ustedes form. And then if I'm talking about all of my friends over here, they're all doing that action, that would be the ellos form. Okay? We do this in English too. For example, verb ser, to be. We don't say I be a teacher, we say I am a teacher. But if we don't talk about my friend Christina, who's also a teacher, I don't say she am a teacher, I say she is a teacher. So the verb to be is also conjugated in English. I am, you are, he is, we are, etc. So again, it depends on which form of the verb, depends on which pronoun we're talking about. So let's look at the forms of the verb ser. Ser is to be. So if we want to say, I'm a teacher, yo soy profesora. If I want to say, you are a student, I would say, tú eres estudiante. If I'm talking to you formally, and I wanted to ask you a question like, are you a student? I might say, ¿usted es estudiante? Or, ¿es usted estudiante? In questions, oftentimes we put the verb before the pronoun. ¿Es usted estudiante? N-I-U-B-Y. If I want to talk about someone else, my husband, he is a CPA. Él es un contador. If I want to talk about my mom, she is an accountant as well. Ella es contadora. Okay? If we want to talk about what we all do, we all study Spanish. Nosotros, we are Spanish students. Nosotros somos estudiantes. But if I want to talk about what you all do or what you all are my students. Vosotros sois mis estudiantes. Again, that would only be used in Spain. The rest of the Latin American world or Spanish-speaking world would say, ustedes son mis estudiantes. And then if I want to talk about other people, like all the Colts players, los jugadores de los Colts son muy buenos. They are really good, right? Okay, so you can see here that we can use the verb ser to talk about who I am, who you are. We can also use it to talk about where people are from. I am from the United States. Yo soy de los Estados Unidos. The word de is just from. And you could also use this to say, ella es de Cuba. She is from Cuba. So the word de can be thrown in there to tell where people are from. This activity 10 on page 11 gave some people some headaches. But basically the idea of this is that you're just making a question like it has responsable and then your professor. So you would ask the question, is your professor responsible? You would think, okay, your professor, that's an ella. And so we use the word es, is she responsible? Es ella responsable? Or es la profesora responsable? And your answer would be sí, hopefully. Sí, ella es responsable. It goes on to talk about like two men. So instead of saying two men, dos hombres, you could just say ellos, and you would ask the question, son ellos, I think the word that they use is extrovertidos, outgoing. Son ellos extrovertidos? And you might say, no, ellos no son extrovertidos. It goes on to talk about a man and a woman. If you're talking about a man and a woman, you use this ellos again, two people. So you'd ask something like, son ellos inteligentes? Are they intelligent? Are they smart? And then you might answer, sí, ellos son inteligentes. The only time you use ellas is, I think there's an example of two women. If you're talking about a group of people that's only females included, you might ask the question, son ellas generosas? Are they generous? So that's kind of the idea for activity 10 on page 11, if that's giving you a hard time. Again, if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to email me. Adiós, buena suerte.